I rise to, I think, half support Amendment 26. I also, at this point, would like to congratulate the noble Lord Moylan. But anyway, the introduction of this regressive and untested generational ban on tobacco sales obviously does raise the thorny issue of how it will be implemented in terms of retailers checking on ages. I do think, following on from the first group that we discussed, that it is worth noting that it is very different to standardised age checks, which we already have, where there can be challenges at 18 or over, 21 or over. But I would like to quote Trading Standard Wales, who described it as creating a two-tier age system for tobacco, where in the way that we know that someone born in 2008 would be legally able to purchase tobacco products, while someone born in 2009 would not. And it does seem to me for this bill to work in its own terms, enforcement is a key, but it's not clear how that will be practical. Again, quoting Trading Standard Wales, having a two-tier age system means that young people actually, if we're honest, will still be able to obtain cigarettes from older friends, from family members that smoke, and it's unlikely that any parties would report each other to the authorities, as both would face legal consequences for doing so. But more pertinent to this group of amendments, Trading Standard Wales states, quote, "We do not think it is realistic that in the future 30, 40 or 50-year-old adults who are purchasing tobacco products would be challenged about their age and asked to prove they were born before January 2009. Checking on age is tough at the best of times, but to increase proof of age ID checks on tobacco buyers of any age, which is what eventually will happen, could well trigger an escalation of tensions, abuse and even violence for hard-pressed retailers." And we've heard some very important testimony in the first group about that whole issue. So anything the government can do to ease these tensions, to help those retailers cope with the very challenging demands this bill will place on shopkeepers, I think is to be welcomed. And it's why I'm drawn to Amendment 26 in the name of the noble Lord Udney Lister. And the government, I do think, has an obligation to think about how those retailers will cope. And could a grant scheme to subsidise the cost of age verification technology and reduce the financial burden on small retailers be something that the noble lady, the Minister, would consider, because it would certainly help improve compliance. I think the government do have to address, and I think the noble Lord Murray earlier talked about shopkeepers being scared, and I think that word is an appropriate word. They are very scared about the impact of the generational ban on their business and the safety of their staff, and the loss of income in an already struggling sector, which will no doubt lead to a lot of them going under or certainly losing a great deal of income. And in order to make this age verification work, they might need some help. I think whatever happens, we should make no mistake that the weight of responsibility for enforcement of this legislation that we're discussing here will not fall on our shoulders, but will fall on the shoulders of retailers who will have to navigate a new legal age threshold, which will change and become more challenging each year and every year. The reason I mentioned that I have some reservations, and I'm not sure how to resolve them, is that the way that the Amendment 26 is presently worded, it targets all nicotine products. And one of my concerns throughout the course of this bill is that there is an elision between, for example, vapes and tobacco. And whereas the generational smoking ban makes it clear that we're going to have special age verification needs, at the moment there is already an age checking that needs to be done for young people and vaping. And I just don't want that undermining of the public perception that vaping is exactly the same as tobacco. So that was one of my reservations. Also, any age verification technology will have an impact on increasing number of adults as a generational ban's impact kicks in. And I'm concerned that this could be something of a Trojan horse for everything from the use of facial recognition technology to digital ID. And so I always get nervous when I kind of think that there's going to be more technology checking on you everywhere you go. It's the libertarian bit of me, even though I'm not a libertarian, but it makes me a bit nervous, right? So they're my reservations. Those reservations aside, if I can directly ask the noble lady, the minister, to address, I think, the core of what the noble Lord Udney Lister's main point is, which is how will the government help reduce the financial burden on especially smaller retailers of the very challenging and complex demands that this bill will pose for them in relation to age checks. Surely we can't just pass this bill and then abandon them and tell them to get on with it. And therefore I think that this amendment is worth considering seriously.